Okay. As people try to jump in, we'll get going. And in case you have any doubts, anything you want to talk, you can always unmute and then ask me. Okay. So,
Okay.
all right. Welcome to today's episode on productivity skills again. And I know it's like going on forever, right? Because there is so much thing that there are so many concepts that when it comes to productivity that we can learn, and we just started off. I know it might be a little dragging or boring when it comes to productivity because that is what it is all about, right? When you take the patterns of successful people, they do the same thing time, day in and day out, they're doing the same thing. Maybe they're doing the same products. Maybe they're doing the same webinar scripts. Maybe they're doing the same habit of coming on to social media, daily. Productivity can get boring, but that will pick up the momentum, because consistency is the key there, and it will pick up the momentum and it will have a compounding effect. But when we are learning about productivity, it is even more important that we need to deep dive to understand where are we missing what are the missing pieces in our productivity regime. Productivity, as I already said, it is not only for people who are on the work mode or on a business mode. It is also for a regular mom, housemaker at home, having different roles as a woman, as a mother, as a family member. There are a lot of ways that we exhibit our productivity styles. Under productivity, there are a lot of skills that we also exhibit. For example, some moms could be really be good at managing time. Eventually we all get into that zone because once we become mom, we know exactly how what importance is for time. When we are a young adult or even before marriage, time could not be of any. I would say, people who have goals and ambitions and dreams and all that was a minute percentage of what we know about, right? But most of us were spending our time even without knowing that we are wasting our time or dragging our time, right? Because that's what is the youth, the exploration mode. We tend to be all alone and without any distractions. Those times we never had mobile. Had we had any technology there, maybe our time would have been eaten up very easily. But then we had time. The only thing we had was time. If not for money, if not for any, if there is nobody to play around, the only thing that we all had was time. But now, to the contrary, we do not have time. Even though there are different roles, even a young adult or a child, we are running behind some rat race constantly, especially with the distractions on our hand, right? It is right there on our palm. It is not just on the reaching end, but it is right there sitting on our palm. It's become like an organ in our body. So if that is the case, then where is the question of productivity? How can we inject productivity in all the areas that we want to, see our achievement and goals? Because without getting productive, you may not be able to even see your progress. You may know your destination, you may know your direction well, you may have your talents, but what is the gap? That is a skill gap. And now, what are the skills that you need to achieve there? Could be many things, right? Not just pertaining to time management. It may also be problem solving skill or any critical skills like a decision making or imagination, for that matter, or even having an expansive thinking. We call that as vision and mission. So without these critical skills, for that matter, innovation or creativity, we may not be able to achieve that level of the measure that we want to. For example, it could be a satisfaction, or it could be an outstanding output from you, or it could be a world-class product that you want to produce. It may not be achieved unless you build those skills. And that's exactly what we are doing in these weekly calls. Now, without further ado, I'm going to quickly get through what we have on the plate for you, just in case you are new, you're watching the recording, or you're attending live. You may be an old timer or a new person coming in. This is what we do here. We have a continuous learning format where we meet up every week. Possibly, if there is no emergency, if there is no vacation plan, or if there's anything not pressing, I would definitely be there on a live every Saturday with some productive topics. Of course, productivity being a topic now, it'll get soon. It'll get over soon, and then we will be getting on to wonderful other topics like discipline, relationship, and we might even touch base about career advancing, money quotient, purposeful living, stress-free parenting. We did a lot of other topics earlier where we involved a lot of other parents discussing many different topics when it comes to parenting, neighborhood, schools, education. We even went deep dive into recipes, right? We had that continue for 1 year, and then we took a feedback, and then we slowly moved down to, narrowed our focus into self-development topics for moms. And this is one example of self-development area for any woman, for that matter, not just necessarily moms. It could be businesswomen or a workwoman, right? Now, what is the content of this? The format is pretty simple. It's a 90 minutes format where in the beginning, I might have to give you some narration about what is the format and what is the topic that we are going to do, what is the structure that we are trying to build. And we will get into the topic. It will always be a 90-minute or even less than that or more than that, depending on the discussion point. But we will right now chosen for 1 full year that we will concentrate on various other bigger topics like productivity, relationship, emotional intelligence, career advancement, money quotient, and so on and so forth. Whatever is needed and relevant for us. Okay. And that will compound into 78 hours if you are connected consistently for every year. We do a peer learning. If there is necessary that we will open up a breakout rooms, depending on the numbers. but it is recommended that you come and attend live, because attending live, you might have an interaction with other people across locations. We also had a few people joining from India. I will be opening up this forum to public very, very soon. But before I could do that, I want to make sure that our privacy and security is taken care, because we discuss a lot of intricate issues, like the feedback that is shared could be very private and individual. We will not be able to display this as a social media post. However, this will all be segregated and kept as a repository in a LMS, in a recording format. But attending live is a different experience, right? We've got a lot of feedback, positive feedback from people who attended, and how they see these calls and how they want this to be expanded. We will do that step by step, and you may not be able to see all the people coming on live. It is not possible. But however, people who want to build their, they're serious about what they are doing. If they're serious about their learning skills, their time and effort that they are spending somewhere else, instead of searching, plethora of information are available in Google, instead of going and getting lost in the ocean, it is always best to have a structured format, and it is given, right now it is offered free of cost. So it is best to use these learning hours and make use of those people who are trying to contribute. And eventually you be the contributor, you be that leader who would spark that inspiration in others. Maybe, whenever you talk, before we could meet next week with another interesting episode, I would want you to do two things. One is self-reflection. That is more important. That's what we will discuss in the upcoming, agenda. Second important thing is also to spark that ignition in somebody, so that you can be that self-starter, that starter for somebody who are not willing, or who do not know what is the method. Genuinely, they do not know what's happening around, and they're already lost. So talk to a particular person whenever you interact individually, in person or on social media or on phone. Why don't you just say, hey, you know what? There's a call happening. We all get together and then we discuss a lot of topics. Although it is one to many, but then if there is any interesting topics that is aligned to my business and my family, my value system, I think you should also be able to grab this opportunity and give your takeaways. Like, how have you progressed in this? What transformations have you been getting? Just in case you are already reflecting in your work models or your day-to-day lives, based on what you learned today. Why don't you, share this with somebody? And you never know, may not be immediately they will be joining, but definitely they will remember this. And as and when you get time, go to social media and put away your takeaways. And then, as a call to action, you can always say, jump into this group. And it's anyway free, available for you. I'll give you the sharing link. So you might want to get those people on the live call. That is my duty. I'll nurture them in such a way that I'm going to bring in a lot of fresh blood. So you will see a lot of people joining in and taking an advantage of this. Okay. Having said this, there's a format that we go through for this kind of a learning, because it's not a random learning. Definitely, it has a structure, and the structure involved highly informed awareness, insights, because an insight is coming from inside and it can never go wrong. That is the reason we need people to share their experiences live. And just think, for an example, if you have a problem, or if you are discussing any topic, and suppose you're getting multiple perspectives, like 5 to 6 perspectives right there on the call, don't you think it's the best solution for you? You don't have to search for any validation at all from anybody. You're getting all those validation right there on that 1 hour call. So it is an advantage for everybody. It's a win-win strategy. So it's up to you how many people you want to bring in, or it's up to you how much you want to imbibe in you all these learnings, and then reciprocate in your family, in your personal way, or in your professional line of business. That itself will be an inspiration for people around you. Okay. So we will have a better awareness created for a particular topic. You choose a topic, and then we'll go deep dive into it in terms of creating an awareness first. Awareness could be, we will talk about theories. We will talk about the philosophy models behind it. We will back up with science, whatever is available on that particular topic, and how many people have validated that particular models. And we will also see what are the advantages and disadvantages according to me. I may have a different role, right? As a mother, as a family member, as a wife, as a business person, as a leader, as a community leader, as a student, I may have different roles. And I need to know what is advantages and disadvantages for me when I approach this. And there could be different approach model as well. So I might want to choose one particular approach and then, execute it, and to see whether this is working out for me. So if I have this much backed up data, don't you think my choices would be really better day in and day out? If I know, hey, look, I have a particular project, I'm like stressed out, but I know what kind of focus mode should I switch on? Is it a deep focus, or monastic focus, or rhythmic focus, or a journalistic focus? If you have been in the previous episodes calls, you know what I'm talking about. These are all productivity models, right? The deep focus model that we already discussed. So you exactly know which mode you should switch on. Now, accordingly, you will also know if you have been consistent in these calls. We have discussed a lot of hacks and techniques, right? You might want to say, okay, now this is a situation for today. This is my energy level. I had a disturbed sleep yesterday, so my circadian rhythm is gone. However, I know exactly this is a time limit that I need to have. I know what is my ritual. Like we have discussed about getting into deep focus rituals. Once you do categorize, scientifically, all that step by step, without using your brains, you are anyway eventually getting into that mode. And for any project, intense projects that you have, you may at least would have passed the 50% of it. I'm not saying everything will work perfectly well, because it needs implementation. It needs time. However, you know the technique, you know the hacks. So we do take informed decisions. And those informed decisions will definitely be useful, not just for you, for people around you. Now, in this direction, if you just keep going, imagine if you already know your goals also clear. Don't you think your life direction is very clear? And if you have are a person who's very clear about your purpose, your direction, your destination, and you exactly know how you execute, how your patterns are, how do you react, how is your emotional responses, and how is your productivity level, don't you think you're walking in the right path and people get inspired? Because one, the natural consequences is your productivity level or your output is definitely going to be a world class. And you as a person walking as a world class, right? Living as a world class example. So that's the sadhana for all of us here. And this is a format that we will get this learning into. Now, self-development topics could be categorized as awareness topics, in that we, awareness topics as in a format of, I just explained to you that we define a particular topic, we talk about the myths, like whatever mistakes we have been doing. When it comes to productivity, what mistakes did we even assume that we are productive? Being busy is not actually productive. We discussed that. Similarly, there are a lot of myths and mistakes that we have done. And then pros and cons, styles of working, theories, and science pattern. And then different kind of skills, like, but we are I basically categorize this entire learning into two ways. One is, when it comes to skills, I pick up those skills which is already working for super successful people. If it is working and they're successful, all we have to do is just adapt it. Okay? We don't have to use our brains. Second thing is, whatever is our lifestyle, right? It may be working for them. It may not be working for us in certain spectrum of life. So in which case, we have an informed awareness, informed decisions. We know our insights and experiences based on our experiences, and it cannot be false. You need to know your patterns. You need to know your experiences as well. You need to be able to track those things and figure out a particular pattern which is working for you. So those are all the hacks that we will be discussing during the live calls. You see, coming to live calls has a lot of other advantages as well, because a hack which is working for you could also be working for you, or the hack which worked for you, you may want to share this, and then you see, I would like to use that. And if it's maybe you have a different journey, you have a different profile, but I would like to use that when I arrive at that journey. It's not that we are all in the same phase, right? We may be different phases of life, but we will definitely walk through that phase. When I come to that phase, I might want to use that hack. Okay. So hacks and techniques will also be discussed. Those are all coming from insights. And then direction. Now, after we discussed each and every topic, right, we will also figure out, where are we arriving at? What is the destination? What is it taking us? Where is all this learning going to take us? We will fix those goals and directions with some expert tips. We've already discussed with book reviews. That's exactly what we're going to finish this. I think deep focus gets over with the meta attention that we discussed last week. Today, as a focus and concentration skills, we will be discussing about distractions. So the deep focus that we discussed about a book called, the name of the book itself is A Deep Focus by Carl Newport. We discussed various other models, which is very, very easy for us to understand and implement it. And apart from that, we also will have, for every topic, may not be necessarily that I will take for every other topic, but there are a few topics which needs a reference to a book. And instead of reading a book, entire book, it's going to take a lot of time. We will eventually not do it. So what we will do is, we will only take the summary of it and whatever is relevant to the particular topic that we are discussing. I'll take those snapshots and then put it across as a mind map. Okay? All right. So far, is it exciting? Give me a thumbs up in the chat box. And then what we will do is, finally, we will synergize. So synergy happens when you start interacting with me, either in the chat box or unmuting and talking, your views. However, we are going to make use of it is by participating. Only then the synergy can happen, learning and reflecting. Whenever I say some model, whenever we discuss some approach or style, hey, look, well, I've already been doing this. So should I continue this? Is something that you have to reflect. You introspect based on your lifestyle. If something is working for somebody, why don't I, implement this today? So that is an examination that you have to do. Most importantly, not just leaving with a reflection today or after today's call. It is more important to apply that to see whether it's really working or not. And improvise based on your life journey, your experience, your line of business, your line of roles. You need to experiment more and improvise it. And when it's really working for you, I'll be more than happy to hear that from you from for the next call. When you come for the next community call, unmute yourself and then probably share your experiences. And thereby you can see your professional or personal life getting enhanced. Okay, how does it help you? Of course, all these things help you, but apart from that, you're having a great start. People who have been consistently attending, people like Pooja, there are a lot of people who are jumping in, sometime or the other, but they're old timers as well. They have a great start for their week, right? Or at least they're ending their week with a great inspiration because they exactly know how they want to start the next week. They're building a right kind of an awareness. They're cultivating great habits. They're building without their consciousness. They're already building a consistency. Every week, if you turn up, it shows that you're priming your brain to understand that it is important. Once you know the importance of anything, your body, your soul, and your brain, everything cooperates. Unless you insist that importance to anything, your energy gets spilled over. You will not have that willingness to, even look at it that, look, the call is happening. There have been constant reminders. We know we should step in. Once you step in, once you show up is where you start building that consistency. But it has to happen constantly, because consistency is not, it's actually a dream for a lot of people. Productivity, the key for productivity is the consistency. Once you're consistent in something, that means you're getting habitual. You will definitely peak in it. Is it true or not? Just take any chores for that matter, any simple thing that you are doing. You're consistently showing up every day. You're packing lunch for your child and your family consistently. And thereby you're already productive in that field. I mean, you're like a superhero now. You exactly know what you need to plan, what proportion you need to cook, what exactly those people like, and what is the, what is the groceries that you need to pick. Everything is coming, you're able to connect the dots and everything is falling in place. That is productive. That is peak productive. Okay? You're building confidence because of that. You're developing that learning culture within you, and people who look at you, hey, look, Pooja is a cop. And then the family themselves will cooperate. Even now, my family member doesn't disturb me at all. I have a 9-year-old. Of course, there's a distractions, but they exactly know that it is important for me to be here. So they kind of give me the freedom even before the call starts. Until such time, there's no distractions for me. So they look at people like that in a different, you can increase your self-esteem because of that. And you're naturally growing. Okay, now code of honor. Now, this code of honor is important for any community call that you have. Simple code of honor that you need to show up so that you can build your consistency. And you're respecting these kind of a learning because when it's available, I'm not saying, the Google cannot give you or you cannot buy these courses. Of course you can buy. But when somebody has already taken an effort to give that structure and it is offered free of cost, I would be the first person to grab it. And it is best to make use of all those resources that is available for you because it is not all the time coming to you in a structured format. That is the most important thing. Even when you're ready to spend money, right? If you don't have the learning given to you in like a thali, small proportions, in our rat race lifestyle, it's not going to get inside us at all. So the learning goes waste. So when it's given to you in a platter, you might as well want to grab it. All you have to do is show up on time, participate, reflect, and pay forward. When I say pay forward, go back to the group and put your takeaways and be that spark of inspiration to somebody. Even without the groups or when you interact with somebody, they could be totally new. You can always bring them inside. As long as they are a woman, a mother, you can, feel free to ask me for the group invite and share with you. All right. So how to become productive? We started off with an awareness, and then initially we saw the definitions of being productive, and then addictions, mistakes, and slowly we went to skills to become productive. We saw, I think 2 or 3 episodes, we even saw on time management, how to approach time management, what are the models available, what are your personality styles when it comes to time management. We did a good amount of self-reflection in it. And then we deep dived into focus and concentration. We're still in that. In that, we saw the deep focus model, and we completed with that successfully. Now today, we will discuss about distractions. Well, approximately 80 to 90% of population, they lack focus, and it's a dream for them if they have a deep focus mode. Because we all the time, 90% of us face distractions every minute. Okay, we will see in detail about what kind of distractions that we are getting into. We may not be aware of all those, before this call, but after this call, you cannot undo or unsee with that. But after getting that awareness, what are we going to do with that? How do we manage that? See, being a person who's working for goals needs to avoid those distractions, because it is very, very important that you don't harm your body, your brain power, your energy level, your sleep. So many things happens when you are distracted. We will see in detail about within your role, okay, what are the triggers available. Let's see, we will categorize simply with internal and external triggers. When it comes to internal triggers, I have categorized this way, but if you have any other inputs, feel free to share. Psychological, that is happening internal, of course. Something to do with body, I have categorized that as a physical. But apart from this, our mind and body, anything happens outside can be external. Okay, psychological can be, the triggers could be you're bored and so you're distracted. You may be picking up your phone because you're like bored. Have you noticed right now, it is very pathetic to see adults, us, we are not able to get bored at all. In our age, when we were young, our parents and our elders always suggested it's okay to get bored. Really. I say the same thing to my child. It's absolutely okay to get bored, because only during the boredom, your creativity can kick in if you allow to get that happen. Because only then you'll start thinking, if you don't have any other, entertainment, right? If you don't have any other modes of getting entertained, you will naturally be having abundant time within which you will start exploring. How many of you in your childhood have this experience that you were bored and so you ended up finding a new passion? You were bored and so you were doing something. If I have to think through, we listed down topics, we listed down activities during summer holidays with my daughter. I was just casually chatting and I was telling her, what are all the things that I used to be doing as a child with my friends? Because we had time. We didn't know what to do. We were bored. There was no actually a word called bored coming onto my mouth at all. And I'm honestly telling you, I would have hardly said this word, because for all I had was time. And I know what I had to do, because every time something or the other, anything and everything around me was a resource for me to be engaged. Of course, there was a time where I was like, oh no, I hate this life. Okay, but I won't spell it out. But that could have been due to some life instances where you're like caged, maybe your bodily hormones or wanting you to spend that energy, but you're caged. You don't have any other. You do not know what to do. But most of the times we're constantly busy, right? That's what we did during our childhood. But right now, what happens? It is very pathetic to see both the child and an adult. Suppose they are left free, if they don't have work or if they don't have anything, if they are not given mobile on their hand, they either go silent for a few minutes or sleep. This has been a pattern I've been noticing with adults. Even an old couple who came for a restaurant, for eating in a restaurant, they're busy with two mobiles. Either that could be mobiles or Kindle, an app, or it could be any distractions on their hand. It is pathetic. Whereas our elders, when we gather, our elders used to light up the room. They pull us for a conversation, they keep talking to us, or they will play with us, or at least they will scold us and go, right? But for themselves, they had other things to do. The only biggest elephant in the room was television, those times. The radio was constantly on because that is the traditional way of entertaining their ears. But I would say radio would have been most advantageous because the listening had constantly been happening. So apart from these two mediums, we never had any other technology-driven distractions or any other bigger distractions, even in our academic schools. But right now, it is not so. If you leave yourself for 5 to 10 minutes, you either want to doze off or want to explode. Try this out and let me know if this is really true. If this is a pattern, this is not a right thing to say, but I think it's something that you need to watch out for. Okay. Then another trigger which will evoke or which will insist us to do extreme, getting ourselves involved in any other extreme activities is because loneliness. We are left alone. We don't have, if it is a single child, the parents themselves will give their distractions because they're a single child. They get bored. I can't see them crying, cribbing, whining, and all that because they don't have time to spend with their child. So they will give the gadgets. Then repetitiveness can also kick in the boredom, or it will drain your energy, and so we will look for distractions. Okay, fatigueness. Fatigueness is something that, for example, I told you in the beginning, attending these calls or doing something on a repetitive nature can give you a fatigueness or a burnout. If you are consistently doing switching on monastic deep focus model, it will definitely lead you to fatigueness and burnout. Because of which we discussed what are the ways that we can avoid those burnout, and then how do we switch to different models. It could also be uncertainty. You don't know, you have no, maybe you're in an unknown zone where you do not know much about that subject, or you do not know many people over there. You are suddenly gone into some occasion where there are a lot of people. It is very easy for us to look at the mobile and just be, distracted, be ourselves. But imagine if you don't have mobile, what would you do? You would naturally have explored different skills, right? Talking to people, or looking at them, smiling at them, or just be quiet, observing. Observation is also a skill, or listening is a skill, right? Reaction to emotions. That can also be a trigger. For example, exactly you don't like a person walking in, and you will trigger in a different way, and so you will immediately get into a distractive mood. Or it could be the hormones kicking in. Sometimes we need that craving. We're like, no, it's totally. In those days, I have not experienced, at least my friends have not experienced. We have been consistently going through, 8 to 9 hours of learning continuously. Even after the school time, we will have to go to the special tuitions. We hardly will have a food break. We will continue to go, and we reach home only by 6:30. That too, riding a bicycle in the hot sun after a tiring day. We will still be having. You may want to argue that it is a age that body gives you a lot of energy. But what about the boredom? We constantly, we never had any complaint. Maybe because we had a good amount of people, good associations. We had that healthy competitive spirit. That FOMO had kicked in. Fear of missing out is already kicked in us. Somehow we continue to do. Even if all those things are existing here, do you think you will continue to do a particular topic or task day in and day out? No. Not many of us can challenge ourselves with that. We get anxious. We get bored immediately. We will call out all those reasons and immediately jump for distractions. Family problems could be unique problems where it is disturbing at an emotional level. That could not be the common problem, but it is also a trigger where the children do not have an expression for their feelings and emotions. They don't have a platform. They don't have anybody to hear out there. And so they will be finding various ways to distract themselves. And I would say, as they grow, their hormones also kick in, and they want their energy to be spent in such a way. If they are not, I think I give you an example. If the energy is not spent in such a way, it not only pertains to young adults or a teenager, it also is the same reason for adults like us. Suppose our energy, certain energy has to be spent in a certain way. That either has to be a physical or a mental or an emotion. Emotional expression is also equally important. I think we discussed, and we will discuss a lot about this in the few other areas when we discuss about emotional intelligence, where bottling up your emotions is actually causing your physical illness. It has a direct relationship. There's a person called Louis Hay who's already written a beautiful article years back where she has indicated if you have a kidney problem, how does it reflect in emotion? What kind of emotions do you go through? Or if you have a headache, what emotions actually evoking it? You can seriously walk into it and you can actually list down your physical illness or inconveniences and then work towards that particular emotions. When you solve that emotions, when you express well those emotions, these illness will be removed. These are all science-backed information. These could not be myth. This may not be accurate, to 100%, but you can actually relate, right? There are a lot of discussion that I have done with my friends and especially with my spouse, where we have realized that it is more or less true. And when we have to talk about physical triggers, it could be health issues. That can be the major trigger. When it comes to health issues, you can't do much about it. I will not say it is very, very important to have a healthy lifestyle, because after all, if you don't have a proper health, there's nothing, whatever we speak about productivity or about any skill, it's not going to matter at all. So what matters is your health and your family. Unhealthy snack times can also be a trigger. I'm saying can also be a distraction for you. This happens. I recently read one article. I think it is more relevant to discuss that here. Maybe the next call, I will jot down those things as part of this topic. Whenever the event triggers, it could be boredom, it could be loneliness, it could be somebody you don't like walking in, it could be emotional responses, it could be whatever trigger we just spoke. The dopamine kicks in. And the more we get habituated to a particular dopamine, it could be oxytocin, which is a happy hormone, which we commonly will seek for it because we want to make ourselves comfortable and happy, right? For example, it's coffee. Caffeine is a that kind of a dopamine, which we feel just in case too many things are happening, very intense work is happening, we immediately look out for a caffeine. So caffeine gives that boost, right? Similarly, junk foods can give you some cheap thrills, and then when it is when you're involved in it, you kind of feel superior that you kind of achieved something in a shorter span of time, and then you can go back, right? But on the longer term, it is naturally going to have physical consequences, and also you're habituating your dopamine intake, which is an opposite effect of productivity. That's what I learned. And I think these are all internal triggers which we may not be aware of it unless you start tracking it. First of all, you need to be aware that this is all happening. And after that, you need to track. Okay. I think it's a very pretty important topic, which we will discuss next week about the dopamine effect. Most of the times you don't have to necessarily step out when you're working this has happened to me in the recent past. I've been tracking my habits, my dopamine effect, right? The need for that dopamine is increasingly visible. I don't know, maybe it's a lifestyle. If I have to compare 10 years back or 5 years back, it is more to do with the intake of what we are feeding our body, mind, soul, everything, the lifestyle, the ambitions that we have, and how are we directing our efforts, money, resources, and goals. Are we aligned with our value systems? So many things are there. It is good that we have this awareness and we are able to track those habits to curb it. But people who do not have this awareness at all, or they don't have the capacity to track, neither could they stop, they will definitely have these physical consequences, or it could be a acute illness. Initially, it will definitely express that in your physicality. And if you deep dive into it, it will definitely have an expression in emotions. That is the reason I pick up emotional intelligence also as part of a very important subject for us to, inject that in productivity or parenting or profession, right? And what else? Physical triggers could be chores. Oh yeah, this is something that came up in my lifestyle, that if I'm, worked up too intense, I might want to step out. First of all, the standing reminders given by the watch and the mobile, it's too good. I don't know about how many people are aware of it, that you have standing goals in your watch, and on your mobile you can set a reminder, which is in a way it's good, but most of the times it is a distraction. So I stand up and then I do some quick exercises, but most of the times for me, going and attending my child or family needs, time and again, itself is a standing goal for me. So I resort to that, and I've understood that it's a dopamine for me. Why would I say dopamine? Because it is giving me the time to breathe. It is also giving me time not to, it is actually reducing my courage to face that peak productivity. These are some patterns that I've been noticing. So I need to work on it and build that courage to get into the deep focus mode as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the momentum is lost. The day is run over, and then the next day happens. And for me to get back to that momentum, it's going to take time. Even though I'm at my peak focus, we discussed about circadian rhythm, where we also allotted our time when we are at peak focus and all that. When the morning peak hours comes to me, I'm ready. But then for me to get back to the same momentum, it is again taking time. So I'm already losing time there. So what I noticed is cleaning, chores, distractions from family, everything could be a pattern of distractions as well. These are all minute and meticulous attention that you are giving to understand your patterns. But it's a big elephant. You cannot avoid it. Okay. It may not be yet in the phase of life that you are in, but these are something that you need to keep in mind when you walk through that phase. About external triggers, it's very simple, right? Anything beyond our physicality and our emotional psychological effect, everything else is environment, including our family. Negative people, I've jotted down what I think it could be a trigger. Negative people can be a trigger for us to get distracted from our goals and aims and focus. That is the reason we spoke about detox experiment last week or previous week, where we need to detox people as well. Not just detoxing our body and mind. It is also important to detox people. You don't have to visibly detox them. You can always do that in your mind. It could be a co-worker you're constantly sitting beside you and being a biggest distraction. Okay, neighbors, yes. There could be a lot of FOMO in us, like they're planning for a vacation or they do this every day. They join this class, so I might as well want to put my child there. All those FOMO will kick in. If you are a parent, you exactly can relate to what I say. You need to detox yourself from those kind of FOMO. It is very important that it is deviating from your goals, and your family goals might as well. Maybe your family doesn't need that. Just because you have that dopamine kicking in that you need to constantly keep up yourself with others, it is a huge distraction. How many of you can relate here? How many of you have gone through this? Give me an S in the chat box. So I will know that, these are all relevant areas of disturbances and struggles in moms, right? It could definitely be a weather factor, because when it's cold, right, we need to take on a lot of layers on us, and we need to remove layers after layers and after layers, and then we go tired, we get, the momentum is already lost there. By the time we want to come and sit and work, it's already draining. It could also be the AC effect. When the weather outside is cold and you need to be cozy. If it is not working, then obviously you would want to be distracted. Okay. Demanding friendships, yes, that is also another thing. Yes, thank you, Pooja. Demanding friendships, again, as I said, you need to pick up your associations very clearly, whichever is suitable for your goals, values, core beliefs, and all that, so that they can be an inspiration, they can be a support instead of being a distraction for you. Cluttered space, yeah, that is another one. You need to be aware of it every day when you come to work. Especially when you're working on, home office like this, it is important to keep your space decluttered, absolutely decluttered in a way, because your space, your environment is a representation of your brain. How your brain is here, that's how you will be surrounded with. Even your folders, how the way you organize your folders shows how you're organized in your brain. Okay, wardrobe, oh, that's another challenging area. We also had that same struggles, especially having a girl child. It is a constant struggle every day. Choosing a wardrobe, choosing an outfit every day to a school, especially in American schools where they have color dresses. I used to thank my school, my nation, to have me relieved from all those, I would say, trivial distractions. During our childhood, all we knew only was two colors. One is white uniform, another one is blue or green or whatever. The only day that we wear color dresses on the occasion of Diwali or New Year, whatever it is, right? Rest of the days is very simple, right? How much it has relieved us from time, energy, brain power. Now it is, with my 9-year-old, this has been a constant struggle. Only recently we have categorized that. We have come to a strategy where it is giving us peace. Okay, so we found some interesting ways to manage the wardrobe. So before that, it was cluttered, and it always gives us a feel that we are getting into a chaos zone, and coming out of it is constant stress. And the moment you get stressed out in the morning for this, the entire day is ruined. Okay, you see how small things can take you off the track. Now, digital, I don't have to necessarily tell you, TV series, Netflix, and all that is the biggest elephant in the room, right? Subscriptions, it's taking away your time. The moment you switch on one series, it takes away the entire month until the series gets over. Right? And they also don't give us a series just like that. They give it in installment. They raise our dopamine like anything. Social media, pings, dings, and all that from your emails, from phone. Everything is a clear distractions. News alert, yes. Emails, calls, group chat, that is another one. Visual clutter, we just spoke. Cookies, that can also be a distraction. You every time have to disable that. So you need to declutter your systems as well, digitally. Recently, I spoke about when we spoke about detox experiment from digital world, we spoke about a hack where you can just, with one click, you can disable entire notification coming from social media and all that. I did that, honestly, for the last 25 days. I've been watching my screen time, which has come drastically down. Second important thing is, unless I go and pick up the WhatsApp to see what's happening, I will not be aware of it. That is another issue, but so far it has been settled down, because my family, who is most important for me in terms of communication, they're already informed. My extended family in India are also informed, because the time zone conflicts will be there, so no problem. But the only correspondence I might miss is the usual surroundings of friends, or sometimes from school. That is equally important. The rest of the things are manageable. What I felt was I was not missing anything big. I can always go and connect back, especially with news. There's nothing that you can miss in news. Every day, constantly, something new can happen, and you can always connect back with 1 year news, 1 year old news back. With YouTube, with all that recordings available, you can always connect back. So there's nothing that you're missing big time. It is all up here. The FOMO is happening constantly here. All you have to do is curb that, and then you're free. Now, you see how much of, is there any other trigger when it comes to your role? Did I miss anything else? Of course, triggers, did I say family? Family can be a trigger? Yes. unless you have trained your family, or unless you have an alignment with your family, both of your goals, your family member goals, at least for next 20 years, it is not possible for them to cooperate with you at many levels. Okay. It is not just with the professional life. It is also to do with the every transaction you need to decide. Constantly, we are taking a lot of choices. For example, I don't have to, get down deep dive into wardrobe and space and all that. Why? Because these trivial things also matters. They take away our energy, brain power, the momentum in us very easily. Unless we are aware of it, nobody can help us. You are your best advocate. You are your best observer. And family, if they are not aligned, can be a biggest distraction. That is the reason I don't want to quote them as a distraction. Recently, in my family, although I have done this for myself, but I always wanted this to be done as a family exercise. We did vision board as a family exercise. It was so very sweet, and it was very nice to see when they come up with vision. And it was so weird to see how initially we were not aligned. I mean, when they came to know, when my spouse came to know, oh, really? You even thought about this? And I'm like, it's quite natural, right? We have been discussing on this. It didn't occur to him that it has to be on his goals. Whereas, based on his cues, whatever he gives me, I've already put that as a goal. Similarly to me, when I looked at his vision, oh, really? You've been working hard for this? I never knew. So there was one point of convergence where, oh, no, it is very important to see that we're all aligning. We're all in the same direction. Because otherwise, our energy, our brain power, our emotions, everything is like spilled out, and it's going to take forever for us to achieve a common goal. And it is also nice to see our child. It is very important if you're a parent. You wait for some time till your child reaches a particular age, or I would say you might want to do this as a practice right now to see what kind of imaginations they have about themselves, about their family, about community. I'm sorry. Usually, when you ask your child, right, usually they will be expansive. I want to take care of Mother Nature. I want to own the entire animal kingdom. I want to serve. I want to become mostly it will be expansive, right? Saving the mother planet, nature, and ocean, fish, all those which we don't include them in our goals. Everything will be there in their world, and you will see how beautiful it is to come out with their way of thinking, and then you align your goals or your even for how this beautifully translated in us is the moment we started talking about these things in our child about goals or their bigger asks or bigger wishes. It is easier for me to understand my child's cue, my daughter's cue, to understand her passion area, her hobbies, and all that. And it is easier for me to go and search accordingly and find resources for her to get engaged. All I have to do is go back to my husband and say, hey, look, Meera wanted this. She gave me a cue. She liked this. She saw somebody doing and she wants to try. And I found a teacher who can teach this. All you have to do is just look and talk to her whether she's still interested. I've not influenced her. If she's still interested, you might want to spend on it. So it is very clear for the dad also when it comes to spending or when it comes to his questions. It's a great uphill task for me to convince him. So I always find a logical ways to find the overlapping area. So it is very easy for us to be on the sweet spot. Now we don't have to necessarily tell Meera to Kana, there's a free time. What do you want to do? She herself will find her way. Her new interest area is crochet. So even without any pressure, even without any instigation, if it's a holiday or if it's not a holiday, even it's a weekday before bed, she goes and does the crochet, even without asking. Similarly, her interest, academic interest as well. And now, the more the dad looks on it, the more the dad gets convinced, okay, we are walking in the right path. So it's for me. I don't have to spend extra energy and time with her to instigate, this is important in life and all that. She's doing what she likes to do, and we will figure out how to monetize that, right? As long as she wants to make a career out of it, it's a long way. But right now, she's engaged. Her brain and her soul, everything is attached to it. I'm sorry. So do you think it is important for you to find that sweet spot in you and in your spouse? Suppose you have found that. We call this as Ikigai. How many of you watched this episode called 100 Years Centenarians? I'm not sure about the title, but it talks about centenarians, their lives, about how they want to live their life, right? So if you have already done that, you might want to share your experience. You can go unmute, share your experience about what are the top 2 or 3 things that you would want to take that and implement in your life. Have you watched this with your spouse, with your family?
Yes, Meena. So I watched this with my family. Yeah. So it's simple. Like that's what they say. Like simple life, include more of vegetables. Be happy. Be with friends. Be with someone who makes your life easy, and don't take too much stress. Don't also I think don't be too ambitious. Also is somewhere hidden in what they try to convey. Like don't be too ambitious. Let things be easy overall, and be happy. Make people happy, and even when they have the food choices which they make is something fresh what they get in those lands. So that is something which I notice we don't get in these cities where we live in. we can't. The potency of the soil and everything is different. So that's what, like, that is what I noticed, that just be content with a simple life. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And there's also another concept in that was spoken about, ikigai. Ikigai is a very it's an intricate concept in Okinawans. One of the episodes they would have spoken about Okinawans Blue Zone. It's Hawaii, I think it's an island where those people are called Okinawans, and their community living is their ikigai. Right? They would not go beyond their community. They would do their own meditations, and they would generate money and resources, everything, whatever is needed. They will do that as a passion, and their passion is monetized. So they're anyway living with their community. Every day they will have fun celebrations with their community. They help each other. Their hospital needs are very, very minimal because they live on vegetation. They do a lot of physical activity. So everything is taken care, right? So they found the sweet spot. And in that sweet spot is what's the longevity happens very easily. So similarly, when we are doing a vision, when we are aligning our core values, beliefs, habits, patterns, goals, dreams, ambitions, aspirations, everything aligned. It's a simple exercise of vision board with your family. Even irrespective of any age your child is, you should do this. At least with your spouse, you should be able to do it and see where you guys are converging. And those are the sweet spot that even during conversations, when you pick up those topics and speak, it will usually be futuristic. And when you are involving in futuristic topics, right, relationships gets beautiful. There are no stressors. So when we talk about emotional intelligence or relationship building, right, I will be introducing you to 5 primary languages. In that, there are a lot of things that you can actually modify. Very simple hacks. When you involve conversations with your spouse or with anybody of your like-minded friends or any new friendships that you want to find, it'll be easy for you to converge. But you need to find that sweet spot. Okay. Now, to the main topic. Now, I want to give you today a great learning about this particular topic called distractions. So overall, we spoke about generic aspect about distractions. Right now, I'll give you a deep aspect. This is a concept by itself. I think there is a book also. But if you have this, then you can work on your distractions. There's something called tractions versus distractions. There is no opposite word for distractions. If you look up in Google, there's no exact opposite word. I have given you some rough ideas about what could be the, if I should not be distracted, how should I be? I've given you some picture about it. But what is a scientific backed up term or model or philosophy that we need to work on it is traction. So we will see that right now. You see, distractions is actions that move us away from what we really want, whereas tractions are actions that move us towards what we really want. Okay, so this is a concept by itself. When you look at the opposite of distraction, as I said, maybe assurance could be a word, certainty, and conviction could be words which you can relate. Assurance is suppose you're committed. Committed could also be a word, right? Even though you're committed, there could be distractions, but then for a committed person, it could be minimal. And if you're assured something on, then there is a minimal of distractions entertained with it. And if you're certain about something, you know exactly where you have to arrive. So you will not be disturbed about the distractions occurring. And so is conviction. Conviction in our, in our own family, right? If you are not able to understand what conviction is all about, I think you should go back into your family roots and talk to your elders. Especially elders in a family have a lot of this conviction in them because they are duty bound, they are traditions bound, rituals bound. They talk with conviction. They have a purpose. There are always exceptions about anybody, any topic that we are speaking. Let's leave about those extreme exceptions persons. I'm talking about casual, normal people who had a purpose in them. They always talk with conviction, walk with conviction, live with conviction. For those people, there'll be minute level of distractions. Day in and day out, every day on dot, they wake up. Just like how sun comes. They wake up. They do everything for their family. They take care of themselves. They work double shifts and come back and take care of their children. Feeding them, putting them to sleep, taking care of their home chores, taking care of the entire extended family. And also their, bank balance, retirement, futuristic. How are they able to do a lot of things? So do we want to argue that they don't have mobiles in their hand earlier? So you might want to, take those people again and ask them, what if they were given mobiles during those days? I'm sure they would say that would have been the least expectations in their life because for them, the family was important. Nutrition was important. Feeding their family was important. Earning money is important. Retirement, building a house, marriage of their children or making them study well is important. And so they become conviction. So therefore, traction, you can, take this word as opposite to distractions. After this call, all you have to remember, whenever you feel distracted, you have to see what are those activities which is giving you traction. Okay? Causes of distractions, we spoke. All human behavior is cued by either external or internal triggers. Okay, so the cues that we are getting from environment is digitally, things, and all those emails and all that. Internally, we discussed it. It could also be physiological. Physiological could be, I've given you an example here. Whenever you feel hungry, right? You kind of, we grow, the stomach grows. Whenever we feel stressed, maybe our neck pains. Whenever we feel burdened, the entire shoulder pains. Whenever we feel afraid or anxious, the butterfly effect. Okay, now you see how the emotions have direct connect with the physicality, the physiological effects. So similarly, we will also see the approach of it. For the next 10 to 15 minutes, we'll quickly see how much we are able to cover in this. Now the approach is simple. Whenever you feel distracted, keep asking what and why. Okay, what are you feeling distracted about? Is it that you don't like to do this particular project? Is it like you feel tired? Is it like there are no light, enough light, or you're feeling cold? What is it troubling you? And why is it troubling you? Create a focus-friendly environment. Cut back and plan ahead. This is after you get distracted. Go back and reflect. Okay, now that you got distracted, go back and see the patterns. What got you distracted? Why did you get distracted? Now, when you want to go back to your work again, what you have to do is create that friendly environment, so that friendly as in family can be informed, decluttered space, so that these things don't disturb you. Of course, disable the entire notifications from your phone, which is not, you being merciful with your phone is not going to help you at all. Okay, be merciless and cut back and plan ahead. These are simple hacks. Okay, now I want you to get into this concept slowly. Okay, we are opening a new concept from a book, Becoming Indistractable. I've just given a snapshot about it. It says about how a person can become indistractable. What are all the things that they can take into support, which will support them in their journey to become indistractable? Getting indistractable is a boon, is a miracle, but that has to happen. It is not an instant magic that you can create, but it has to be a consistent effort. It starts with your habits, patterns, and mastering your internal triggers, and then adjusting your vision accordingly, making time for those traction-related activities, and then hacking back those external triggers as well. You cannot leave away the external triggers. You need to find a hack, a shortcut, to say, just, I know you're existing, it's okay, just be there, I'll come back. But if you start fighting with it, if you start conflicting with it, it's a bigger monster, right? Because if you constantly say, I'm not going to take my social media at all and all that, but you still have the notification coming in, it is only conflicting your mindset, and you will get bogged down, you will get fatigue and burnout easily. You need to find that hack. Hack is like disabling the notification, or maybe putting it into airplane mode, or even, switch it off in such a way that for next 2-3 hours, it's not going to ping at all. And then there is something that we can look out as a pact. Pact is like an agreement between countries. They write a pact. Similarly, we'll see what this book is talking about, and blocking out distractions as well. So today, we will only see the first point. I'm sorry. So this one will help you identify those habits and patterns, which is distractions for you, and how do you avoid that? Your daily habits it's like every building needs a foundation. Your daily habits, it's like a foundation for you, okay, on which you're building who you are, your values, goals, and personality. If you're able to track your daily habits, you may be surprised to find a collection of suboptimal habits. That is, it's not yet optimal. It is not a fullest potential that it can give. It is very substandard ones. So you may not be reaching your fullest potential using those habits. You need to understand. One of those optimal habits is being easily distracted. Distractions erode your day-to-day life, diverge your resources towards things that don't really matter. If you're not equipped to manage distractions, you are not indistractable at all. Your brain will be manipulated by time-wasting diversions. Now, this is the concept, okay? If you remember well, we discussed about time wasters in the, time management topics. I want you to list out and tell me what are those patterns and habits which can be your distractions in your lifestyle. One is, I'm saying the time wasters, right? I think most of it we have discussed in the internal and external triggers. Is there anything that left out that you may want to consider that as a distractors? The habits which is forming distractions in you. Habits could be multitasking. Multitasking makes you easily tired out. It drains your brain power. So you definitely need a caffeine. I'm just saying that's the least distraction that we can get. Or you will go tired, you just want to scroll your social media. This is a habit. So you need to break that habit. How? You need to do the opposite. Single tasking, monotasking. We already discussed that brain also needs, the pattern of the brain itself is, the nature of the brain itself is monotasking. It is designed for one task alone at one time. But if you're a highly aware person, an enlightened person, your brain works in 5-6 spectrum of line, then maybe yes. But we have not reached the potential, right? Multitasking. What could be the other habits? See, there are compulsive, habits. You need to understand your compulsiveness. For example, for me, when I wake up, right, if it's a habit for you, if it's a good, productive habits, like I want to finish my spiritual practices and then do the other stuff, other jobs. Okay, that's a good thing. However, out of compulsion, I lose my track. The moment I wake up late, sometimes I misjudge the time and I end up doing that, and then coming to the lunchbox preparation and all that, I'm taking away my time. So misjudgments could also be a factor. But is it occurring out of compulsiveness? Now, for somebody, that is a good, I'm saying that can also be a habit which is occurring out of compulsiveness that you need to change. But what about the bad forming habits? For example, for a smoker, they would think in their mind, or even coffee drinker, right? Every day they have to start with coffee. How many of you have had personalities, both in you and people around you? In our family's elders, they have to have the coffee. Otherwise, their head aches. Whenever we take them for anywhere out, and if there is no coffee, they're doomed out. What is this kind of a habit? Is it actually making them productive? No. It is just that dopamine effect. So having a coffee every day, that too after waking up is one compulsiveness. Similarly, drinking every weekend, or you meet a person, you definitely have to go for a drink. Smoke is similar to that. Even in cooking, we have to include certain items, otherwise the cooking will not be proper or tastier, right? Our family elders are like that. They're very compulsive in that. They're not open to try any other way of cooking, because for them, they are so habituated, and they're what is it? The tongue tasting buds are also habituated in such a way. If you give them any new taste, they go distracted. They either go extreme, or they kind of distract and say, no, I don't want to eat it. So these are some habits and patterns which will make you conceptually multitasking and compulsiveness. But then inside that, if you look at the pattern, watch over your patterns and habits, you will know that there are a lot of compulsiveness in this. I leave it to you as a self-reflection for this week to go back and see what are all those areas which is, very attached for us, that we are not able to come out of it, and it is not helping us also. As long as it is productive, as I gave you an example, yes, doing a spiritual practice at empty stomach is the condition. But is it helping me out? 90% it is helping me. There are sometimes I misjudge, but am I going to stop that? No. So you need to understand what is helping and what is not helping. Accordingly, you bucket them. I hope with this, it's a very deep concept. We need to understand each and every concept as to how it is relating and how it is taking us to the productivity level. It is very easy for me to just give you topics from a book, but then the book may be saying something from our experiences. It could be different. So I want you to go back and think. And the next week when we meet, you may want to add additional, effects of it. But I want you to go and think about this, the compulsiveness in you. It could be any dopamine effect that you are venturing out as a distraction. Of course, the bigger elephants are phones, TV, the people. But apart from that, look at yourself, habits and patterns. Those are something that you need to know. The rest of the things are all visible. Anybody can point out. But the internal triggers are always hidden. And those are all I would say, the stresses, the daily stresses, unconscious, stresses which is actually all the time, empowering us for becoming distraction. So if you want to avoid that, if you want to become indestructible, you need to look inward. Okay, so this is a homework for you. And I would like to thank you for your time. And I would also like you to go back to the group to understand, to let them know what you have learned, and go back and reflect whatever you've learned and implement it. And let me know in the next episode as to, how it has helped you, and if there is any impact that it has made in you. Okay, until I see you in the next week, see you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thanks, Brinda.
All right, Pooja.
And let's do an episode on decluttering soon, Brinda.
Yes. Yeah, decluttering, we can, I think, when the discipline comes, right? The topic of discipline coming in, I'll show you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, we need that for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks so much for today's session. I'll share my findings. Yeah.
Okay. Has it helped you, Pooja? Did it ring a bell?
Yes, definitely. Tractions versus distractions. Yeah. I need to observe more on my tractions. I know my distractions. So, yeah. I need to work more on my tractions, so that, I'm always in this journalistic mode. So I need to come out of that once. For a few hours, I have to have the deep focus few hours a day. So yeah, I'm working on it. Yep.
We'll discuss tractions also next week.
Okay. Surely. Yeah. Okay.